Hey everybody, this is Live at Lunch number 29. Crazy. It's I can't even believe this is number 29 for Live at Lunch, and the title of this particular Live at Lunch is talking about Switchfoot, but also talking about Christian music in general. And I'm hoping to get this done in 10 minutes because I don't have much of a lunch today. I'm kind of behind, so oh well. This is something that has kind of been on my heart for ever since day one when it comes down to Christian music and all the things that detail Christian music and touch on it. So we'll talk about that. Well, let's start with the news that happened literally just, I believe, yesterday. San Diego band, Switchfoot, very popular band, not just in the Christian community, but in the rock and roll community to begin with. One of their members had decided to peace out, and that is Shirley. He's the guitarist that really started right after the Beautiful Letdown. So if you know Switchfoot, this is like right around the time when Meant to Live, they did a remix and remaster of Dare You to Move. That album came out, and you know the song 24, huge in the Christian community, huge in the rock and roll community. It was chart-topping album. It sold thousands of records, and I'm just gonna see how much this sold because I'm really curious. Sorry, I have like 10,000 tabs open here. Let's see how much Meant to Live, or sorry, The Beautiful Letdown sold. Beautiful Letdown. I'm just curious. There it is, album by Switchfoot. La 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 la. Oh, okay. So it remained a Billboard 200 album for a while, and it went double platinum because it sold over 2.7 million records. So that is amazing. I think that anybody that can do that, that's awesome. But unfortunately, the guy that started with the band right around this time, there was a few other albums that Switchfoot had done, like New Way to Be Human. There's a few others. Learning to Breathe is the one that right before that. But anyway, he came on board with the band and unfortunately had parted ways. Now, from what I can tell, the official statement from Switchfoot is pretty cool, pretty chill. Doesn't seem like there's bad blood, so I'll read it for you. It says, friends, there's no easy way to say this. After years of sharing the road, Drew and the band decided to take different paths and will be parting ways. He joined us shortly after the release of our fourth album. That's The Beautiful Letdown. We've shared an incredible journey full of countless highs and lows together. And they sign off with, Drew, we are fans, friends, and brothers for life. Much love to you all. And signed by Switchfoot, John, Tim, Chad, and Jerome. So kind of a sad moment in the band's history because he's done a lot of stuff for the band, and I feel kind of sad for what's going on with Switchfoot. So if you want to listen to some Switchfoot music, this is probably a good time to do that because they're kind of hurting right now. So go ahead and try to find some Switchfoot music that you like, or relive your high school days from listening on Spotify or wherever you listen to music. Shameless plug for Switchfoot, but when I read that, I was just kind of sad because it's kind of like an end of an era for me. Listen to music like Switchfoot, Skillet, of course, in high school and middle school, but they were kind of like a staple in what I was listening to at the time. But it begs the question, what is going on with Christian music and the conundrum that it faces all the time? This is really why I decided to make a Live at Lunch, because I can't really talk about Switchfoot forever. So if what I'm about to say resonates with you, I want you to click the like button because I hope that this video goes crazy on YouTube. And what happens with the Christian community and music is something really important. And there's a dichotomy. Obviously, when you turn on Top 20 radio, you don't hear Christian music, right? But there's something that happened right around the time when Switchfoot was kind of at the height of their career, and that was around The Beautiful Letdown or Hello Hurricane. Sorry, I got a news update up there. Right around like 2003, 2004, 2005. Like Switchfoot was really, really big, and they still kind of are, but that was like the peak of their career, right? But at the time, there was a record label called Tooth and Nail. Switchfoot was not signed with them, I don't believe, but a lot of these bands that were in that pool of Christian artists were not explicitly Christian. So they were writing music that was just about life, totally fine, totally whatever. But the label was marketing them slightly as Christian artists. They were only being, played on Christian radio. I'm talking about Anne Boleyn. I'm talking about, other bands that were a lot like that. Ivory Line. Trying to think of another one. Project 86. These bands that are very niche bands. Thousand Foot Crutch. But these were all bands that were marketed on that label, or a label that was kind of a brother or sister label to Tooth and Nail. And they weren't really doing a great job because they were being sold as an explicit Christian band. But when you if you got the album art out from the CD case and started reading stuff, it's like, this is just about life. This is not about really Christianity in general. So the conundrum that every Christian band or Christian artist or Christian musician faces is the work explicitly Christian, number one, and number two, is the person making that work explicitly Christian as well. And this is, from day one, during the Jesus music movement really in the 70s, and carrying on into, later in life. This is just what happens when we have this dichotomy, unfortunately, of secular music and Christian music. We want to influence the secular world, but unfortunately, we can't do it so explicitly as to kind of cast pearls to swine, if you will. And that's not to be offensive to people who aren't believers, but you have to be sensitive to their needs. But at the same time, you also have to market yourself and try to be successful in what you're doing as an artist. So that's what Tooth and Nail was kind of struggling with when you had a Christian band. But at the time, in the early 2000s, we had MySpace, YouTube was just starting to take off, and MTV was still big at the time, but you wouldn't put Hillsong United up there. You couldn't put something like that. But you could put Switchfoot up there, which the lyrics were so ambiguous, it wasn't necessarily Christian. And that's the problem. That is the conundrum that every Christian musician and Christian artist face. It's the line, how many lines are you going to cross, right? How many lines are you going to cross to say, like, all right, look, I am taking a stand for Christ, I am taking a stand for my beliefs, at the expense of doing business in the music industry. That's the conundrum. So if you like what I said, trust me, please hit that like button, share this video with someone else if they agree. Maybe you don't agree, maybe you can just leave a comment below, and the chat is up, so I'd love to hear from you. But I think this is that conundrum that every Christian artist is dealing with, and unfortunately no one's been able to solve the problem, no one's been able to crack the code, but I think very soon it will. And here's why. Right now, Christian music is more or less all worship stuff. It's like CCM worship. Contemporary Christian music, CCM, used to be bands that consisted of Switchfoot, Skillet, all that stuff. They still are, but the majority of CCM bands is explicitly worship now. So if you're a Christian artist or a Christian band, you're probably a worship leader somewhere at a big mega church, or maybe you're not, but you just tour as one. And that's kind of how you're making a name for yourself as an artist. You're doing worship stuff. That's what Christian music is. Go on Air One right now. Go to K-Love. Going to any other kind of Christian music platform, like a radio station like those, and you will see that the majority of all that stuff is Hillsong, it's Bethel, it's Elevation, it's Maverick City. All of it's worship stuff. That happened during the shift, like I was saying, at the pinnacle of Switchfoot's career, 03, 04, or 05, somewhere around there, and Chris Tomlin comes in, and he just shakes up the whole industry, and now everybody has to be a worship leader. I think people aren't necessarily bored with that idea, but I think people want to do something different now. And that's why you see the success of people like Lecrae, people like NF, hip hop artists like that. KB is another one. Torrin Wells. There's something about Torrin Wells, though, that is so cool, as he's like bridging the gap between both worlds of worship and kind of like pop and techno, not techno, this is a bad word for that, but pop and, you know, just contemporary music that's not necessarily worship. So Torrin Wells is just awesome. By the way, he was in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. Don't know if you saw it. But that's something that I'm seeing a shift happen. And if it's not going to happen right now, it's going to happen very soon. There's a lot of people that are in worship ministry. That's great. But I know that the Lord still has that avenue of having, you know, a Christian artist influence the world just by Christian music alone, not necessarily worship music. And I hope that makes sense. So let me just say that one more time. I think God's going to have a shift where people are going to influence the world through music, but not worship music. So hopefully that happens again. I'm hoping to see something like DC Talk come back around. Not necessarily the same band, not necessarily the same guys, but something like that happen again. It could. But I think, you know, the worship thing, it's going to continue to happen, but I think there's going to be a shift. Maybe you agree. If you do, hit that like button. If you haven't subscribed to me yet, subscribe. I really appreciate it, you guys. And like I said, I didn't want to ramble on today, but that was what I was thinking about. And hopefully we can talk more about it later on next week. So we'll see what happens. So thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't, and click that like button. So thanks, guys. Have a great week. God bless. Shook the phone.